let's talk first about health and nutrition. Here's the problem with depression. It really isn't caused by brain chemical imbalance to which a selective serotonin reuptake inhibiting drug like Effexor or Zoloft or Paxil will work. We've been led to believe that that's the best treatment. It is not. In fact, there is new evidence, and I'll quote this from the University of Edinburgh. It says, changes in the brain structure that could be the result of depression have been identified in a major scanning study. Alterations were found in parts of the brain known as the white matter, which contains fiber tracts that enable brain cells to communicate with one another by electrical signals. White matter is a key component of the brain's wiring, and the disruption has been linked to problems with emotional processing and thinking skills. The study involved more than 3,000 people, the largest of its type to date, and it shows that the biology of the brain is unique. Now, what does it mean in lay language? All right, here's what it means. Let's say that something's happening in your life that you're not happy with. Well, there are times in life where things are out of our control and we don't feel good about it. So what it means is that we have to understand that when we put ourselves in a place of mourning or depression or anxiety, that's really adversely affecting the brain structure itself. This is part of the movability of the brain. It's very fluid. And everything in the brain is based upon electrical charges. So the memory, your vocabulary, your recognition, your cognition is all carried on electrical currents. And these electrical currents vibrate at a different level. So that means that if you're thinking negative thoughts, you're sending electrical currents throughout the brain with negative thought electrical patterns, and that can change the cell that it communicates with. And that's why when people get into one of those negative grooves, they can stay there for their whole life or long periods of time. All of it's destructive to your brain. You need to be thinking positive thoughts, optimism, challenges, things that excite you, things that you would enjoy doing, things that you have done that you feel good about. That changes the electrical stimulation to parts of the brain, so you're actually creating positive brain. So that means that over a period of time, if you've tended to be positive, you're going to see the world more positively. So even when there are problems, and we're always going to have problems, when there's crisis, and we're always going to have crisis, when there's loss, and there's always going to be loss, you'll be able to handle that loss, handle that crisis, handle that problem better because the brain cells that have been electrically stimulated have a completely different wiring. So that's what it means. Very important. Now, I'm going to jump between two issues right now. This is in the United Kingdom, and I'm going to address all of our listeners. We have a lot of listeners in England, also in Scotland. This is from the Telegraph. United Kingdom's National Health Service to ban homeopathy and herbal medicine, quote, as misuse of resources. They have announced a ban on homeopathy and herbal medicine as they say it is, quote, a misuse of scarce funds. Officials today ruled that the treatments are among dozens of medicines which should not be funded by the National Health Service. And then it goes in to say that, quote, it's just a placebo. Really? No, it isn't. They're wrong. And just like people were wrong when the congressman in Florida says there's no evidence on cannabis, let me show you what we came up with. And we look for good quality science, not junk science. And this is the latest. This is on high quality basic sciences and clinical research in homeopathic medicine. That's what you have to look under. So when people want to access good quality peer-reviewed science on how homeopathy works, what it does, what it benefits, which it doesn't benefit, there are 200 clinical trials using homeopathic medicine, and you can find it all 200 under evidence-based homeopathic family medicine. And you can go to the website Homeopathic.com, which is one of the leading resources for homeopathic science. And here's what we have. We have a lot of scientists in America who don't believe homeopathy could work because when you look at homeopathy under a microscope, you just see water. Fair enough. It's just water. But it's where that water came from. Let's say that you have a burn, and the burn creates red, it creates swelling, and it creates oozing a sore, a bubble. That's really lymphocytes, your white blood cells. That's the pus in it. Now, what would be one of the possible homeopathic solutions? Well, the homeopathic solution for that would be poison ivy. Why? It's known as the laws of similars. What would cause the symptoms in a healthy person is what's used to treat a person who's got the conditions. So poison ivy causes the exact same symptoms as if you burned yourself, and hence the laws of similars. However, even though you originally made that using poison ivy, you've diluted it tens of thousands of times, so there is nothing there except water. Here's the difference. The energy that was originally there is still present. And energy is where you communicate. Just like I said, if you look in the brain, you're just going to see tissue. Well, how does the brain think? How do you process information? Electrical currents. So the information is carried on the electrical patterns in the brain. The same with any food. The food you eat. If it's a junk food, if it's a dead food, if it's a putrid food, meat's a putrefying food. It's dead, it's morbid. There's no vital life force to it. Now, I know that because I did the original research along with an Italian scientist who came over he had a new machine, and we were actually able to measure vital life energy in different foods. It took us about 6 months. We measured over 200 foods. And the ones that had the highest vitalism or the highest life energy were the fresh-made organic juices, fresh fruits and vegetables. But every measure below that, where you process the food, you lost certain points. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you had the fresh wheat berry or the wheat grass, it was a 10. And that's why taking wheatgrass juice is so healing and so powerful. It's not just the chlorophyll, it's the energy. It's vitalism at its best. And the same would be true for a sunflower seed. A sunflower seed would go about an 8, but the sunflower sprout goes at 10. And a fresh apple goes at 10 if it's freshly picked, but most of the time people eat an apple, it's 7, 8 months, a year later, it's been in storage, so it's a 9. But you make apple juice from that, now it goes down to a 6. And so the more processing you do of something, the less the vital energy, yet molecularly it's the same. You look, you say, okay, here was an apple that was fresh, now here's apple juice. The whole apple went in there, so if the whole apple went into the juice, then it should be the same thing. And the apple butter, the apple sauce. But it's different. And what's different? The energy's different. So you would think there'd be enough smart people within American science to appreciate that homeopathy works on the entire principle of energy. And because you can't see it, because it's not macular, it's minimal. It's we're looking for the big molecule. We're looking for something we can manipulate. And it's not there, but the energy is, and that's why it works. And therefore they have bias on it. So I'm looking right now at page after page of meta-analysis published in peer-reviewed literature. For example, this is in Symptomatic Reviews, volume 142, and an article by about 6 authors here, a randomized placebo-controlled trials of individualized homeopathic treatments, systematic review, and meta-analysis. It's positive. Well, hello, that's just one study looking at multiple studies, and they found it's positive. Why didn't the scientists at the National Health Service in England know this? And then there's another one here. This is in treating severe to moderate depression in postmenopausal women. This was, quote, a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. It was published in PLOS ONE, and it showed positive outtake, and it was in 2015. Yet they don't know this exists. And there's another one here. The conclusions on the effectiveness of homeopathic highly depend upon a set of analyzed trials, Journal of Clinical Epidemiology, October 2008, and it goes into the article published in a highly respected journal that evaluates research, provides a compelling critique of the Shang Review, and shows that positive or negative conclusions are dependent upon the various ways you evaluate the body of evidence, but it came out being positive. And I have randomized, controlled, double-blind, placebo-controlled, and the different journals. This is the British Medical Journal. And they looked at 4 different studies themselves and shows that it was beneficial. 4 studies on homeopathic treatment for people with respiratory allergies. They were positive. So I'm here with hundreds of studies from peer-reviewed journals. The Pediatric Infectious Disease Journal is another one, double-blind placebo-controlled studies. So these are double-blind placebo controls, and there's one here conducted at the University of Vienna Hospital, and it also shows positive outcome. So here we have dozens and dozens of positive outcomes. At one institution alone in the United States, University of Illinois, they have over 100,000 studies from the peer-reviewed literature on herbal medicine. So this is just one of over 25,000 studies just on these products: ginseng, ginkgo biloba, curcumin, and green tea. Just those 25,000 studies. All beneficial, all positive. This is from Kombut National University School of Medicine in South Korea, respected school. Quote, EGCG, that's green tea, inhibits the growth of breast cancer cells. Findings, quote, findings on breast cancer reported by researchers at the National University School of Medicine showed that the gallate, which inhibits the growth of MDA-MB231 breast cancer cells via inactivation of the B-catenin signaling pathway. And so, quite simply, you have a substance that can help prevent breast cancer. You're a doctor. You're an oncologist. You're seeing women with breast cancer. Do you ever mention this? Are you aware of it? Do you know that there's over 200 studies on curcumin and green tea helping women with different cancers? But there's not going to be any money put in your pocket or to your research facility or to your teaching hospital or your department. These are just natural, non-patented substances. Just want to show you, once again, something passes, it becomes law, and then now the people in Great Britain and Scotland won't be able to get any of these to help them with any condition. But drugs, open the door on that. All the drugs you can possibly put in your body, they want to put in your body. And whether it's socialized or privatized is irrelevant. I'm Gary Null. That's the latest on health and healing. We're at the end of our program. I want to thank you all for listening. Have a nice day, and I look forward to sharing more tomorrow.